begin the evening with the first question to you, Vishal. So it's about the enterprise of the future, especially in this era of Gen AI. And it is a story, I think, that is waiting to be told. There's so much of fluidity and evolution happening under our watch. So when we talk about the immediate future of the enterprise, which is Gen AI powered, the concept of an AI factory that you talk about a lot, how does it bring that vision to life?
I think the physics of AI really resides into the scaling laws. If you get the scaling law concepts, you know that's where resides your ability to compete, your ability to be productive, and your ability to defend your organization. So there is availability of the ground truth. That's where you commence your journey. If you believe strongly that you have been in business for several decades, century plus, and there's something very special that makes a distinct competitive advantage over everybody else, how do you want to deal with it? Do you want to partner? Do you want to build? Do you want to do a hybrid? What are the maths behind it? What do you choose? Do you choose a proprietary model? Do you really choose an open model? How do you tweak it? How do you make sense of that? And I think that understanding is supremely important. AI has already entered the industrial age. There is no R&D gamble that is taking place. In both these models, the more intelligent, that more data sets you bring, the more larger your model is, and the more compute you put into it, it becomes predictable. And it does deliver better accuracies and specific accuracies. Now, how does this whole thing happen? This entire story happens through a unit of AI called tokens. You have a choice. You can buy these tokens nightly packaged as APIs. But obviously, you want your own company to be productive. And your company means all employees inside the company. Your company is also part of an ecosystem. You want your customers, your partners to be productive. You want to do the APIs, that's one way of doing it. The other way is how do you bring that under your control? How do you secure them? You spoke about, hey, how do we ensure it's regulated? How does it understand my value and does not go to spoil my brand? If you want to do all that, you got to think about AI factory. It's a transition from a software factory to an AI factory. And this is where tokens are produced in real time, all the time. And just like people say, the data is the oil, that crude oil, which is then refined, is ready to be expensed. And if you don't have where to expense it, it's wasted. But you really need to translate that into your workflows, into your products, into your services to give you that competitive edge. And that's what I mentioned is the physics of AI. That's the physics that will help you to be more competitive, that will help you to have that edge which you already have and make sure that you don't get disrupted because today there's a new tool available, there's a new advantage that you have, and you can proceed there.
So the India marketplace, right, the India context, how do you think we are poised to take advantage of all this? And we have a very good partnership. It's going great guns. What should we be doing together to serve our customers together?
Absolutely. So I've got Sundar sitting right in front, 2012. Suddenly the world wakes up to this idea, and we call it Big Bang of AI. All of you know that AI is not a problem that got solved instantly. It's taken 60 years to solve that. Why was 2012 so important? We solved computer industry's longest standing problem, which is a problem of perception. The computer could now understand us, see us, and we could solve the problem of perception through the work that Hinton and his two lieutenants really did. It was called AlexNet. But it kind of awakened everyone that software is not going to be written the way it is being written. It's going to be written differently. Software will write software. In fact, software will write that nuance that no human could ever write. And because you could now talk that language, whether it was a language of an image, a voice, even a steering wheel, you could really understand that and work. It's like a child being born, and remember the time when your child basically could recognize your voice, could even recognize your face. It was that phase of it. So 2012, let's say 13 years back. About 5 years back, our child was ready to go to PhD and go through schooling, college, and get into PhD. Our child was now very capable of understanding the world knowledge and spoke to you very intelligently and gave you answers. It could pretty much memorize everything and recite what you wanted to do. A lot of people believe that, hey, the person is smart, intelligent, can recite, fantastic, can be my assistant, but now it was time to start working. The PhD had to go and work at TCS. And there are many PhDs in the world that TCS would love to hire, but you have to still go through a learning of TCS. And they figured out that you need to basically deal with complex problems with the reasoning capability, and you got to be part of a larger ecosystem. And lots of good words were used, long thinking and stuff like that. Those are all concepts, but that's how humans think. And when you and I basically join an organization, and when we deal with problems that were not seen earlier, and now these digital agents can solve that, then you believe and you start stating that, oh, this is the year of agents. But agents is all about goals. Agents is all about planning. And agents is all about execution. How are you going to be deploying that? So it's exactly what your HR department did in previous years of bringing the brightest minds into your organization, grooming them over a period of time, making sure that they kept on supplementing your knowledge is exactly what we are doing with digital species. And that's why a lot is being spoken about agents. So now you can recognize, you can do new, you can talk more, you can give new content, you can give novel answers, and more importantly, you can reason and work on it. That really takes me to the fourth step. You and I also know how to operate in this natural world. This natural world is about physics. This natural world is about all the properties that makes you and I special. How do we make digital species work in this? We call it physical AI. Do we understand that if I was to drop this microphone, will it disappear? Or will it actually go hit the ground and probably jump, and there'll be noise and there will be a disruption and it'll kind of shake you up? If all that has to come in, that's where we are now lending ourselves. So pretty much in last 12, 13 and next couple of years, we're in a journey exactly the way humans were, except that now you have a brand new digital species that can capture your value system, can capture your company's value system, your industry's value system, and can make you more productive. And that's what is truly something that we need to grapple with. And all the CIOs in the room, very quickly, you got to figure out how you're going to be onboarding these digital species who will replicate what the biological people were able to do. And probably, like we always say, if they're smart, you will also be that much smarter. Does that make sense?
It does. For me, the fact that you use the word digital species quite often reflects the fact that the way we got to think about agents and an agentic AI framework, which orchestrates all this, is to virtually say there are a lot of digital twins of ourselves working alongside us.
That's right. So now, Shiva, I'm going to ask you this question, but before I go, because you're going to be really crucial to India. But from my context, the race is not about who researched first, who implemented first. I think the race is about a game plan. A game plan where the game has no time slot. The game has to be understood, the game needs to be activated, the game needs to be played, the score will happen. And for that, we all need to figure out that it's just a question of time when you want to onboard. There are lots of commentaries around why you should not be, and there are a lot of commentaries that you should be on it. Now think about India for a second, because all of us make India special. 1% of India's population has given us limelight, where our export in a particular industry, which is a software industry, where TCS is at the pinnacle of that, and made us look so good. We export 5 times more than what we domestically consume. But that population is sub 1%. If we can make every Indian touch AI through computing devices, imagine the power that will come. Today, India has almost 90% of the population with smartphones. They're into different disciplines. Earlier, we had to learn the language of the computer, BASIC, COBOL, Fortran. Nowadays, we talk about PyTorch, Java, etc. Today, the computer understands your language. You can speak Hindi, Marathi. A lot of people say we don't even speak those languages. We mix our languages. It understands that language. It understands the language of protein. It understands the language of amino acid. It understands the language of breaks. Anything that has a structure, it understands. You have a universal translator. Think about that power. When that power comes in, you make an enormous difference. The second part is not only are we got the 99% of the population coming, what we are bestowed as a culture, as a history, is how to work in frugal resources. When we start implementing at scale all the use cases, and many leaders have said India will become the capital of use cases. Absolutely, it will become a capital of use cases. At frugal resources, when we do, I can almost with certainty say this. When you think about fashion, the first name that comes into your mind is Paris, maybe Milan. I believe when we'll talk about intelligence, India should stand out. And I'm saying India right now, generically, maybe Mumbai, maybe Bangalore, maybe Hyderabad, maybe Tripur. But I believe collectively, because of the power of India, the nuance of India, the ability to innovate, the ability to express, will make us the global intelligence capital of the world.
Sure.
Okay, my chance to ask you, because I think I've spoken a lot. He actually is a practitioner. I just talk. He does the hard work. I spoke about this whole concept about AI factory. A lot of people believe that India is also going to be the capital of new manufacturing plants. Mr. Chandrasekhar himself says, if we're going to bring electrical vehicles, electronics, semiconductors into India, like I said, you'll have to break the price points barriers that exist and are owned by neighboring countries. And all that will happen through the power of simulation. Once you simulate it in the digital world, you will deploy that in the real world. And if both of them can work heartbeat to heartbeat in the same level, then you can understand wherever there's a problem, you can solve in the next junction. Are you in India seeing this ability? And if yes, also try and give me a little bit more insight, especially services business. Think about banks. There are many banks here. Think about banks, because in my mind, banks is about, they have one part, that's the power of decision. They make the right decisions. They're known for their decisions. how will they simulate AI factory and what will they do there?
Great question. Let me try and answer this in two parts. One is the whole notion of what's been around as a word for a while, the digital twin. And secondly, the fact that we can put that digital twin to good use in order to simulate and make much more economically frugal, but also more accurate decisions. So TCS, we've been in the services business, like I said, for more than 55 years now. And one of the things that we have comprehended with over these years is a lot of technological change when it comes to the hardware and software stacks of our own customers. I think you talked about mainframes and newer programming languages and the like. For us in the services business, in the India context, and in fact, I would say globally as well, it's quite fascinating how using this concept, you can actually mimic software systems themselves. In other words, create a digital twin of an existing software estate. And when it comes to removing technical debt, looking at doing modernization that much more seamlessly and probably optimally as well from a cost perspective, not to mention time, getting the lay of the land when it comes to extracting business rules, forward engineering, and then from a simulation perspective, testing whether some of this engineering that you have reverse and forward engineered will pass the test. I think that's a great application. The other thing is, there is a lot of newer things such as talk to data, conversational finance, for example. The ability for us to use Gen AI and these models tuned and all that, and create a whole new era of how you can interrogate the data, which I would argue is a kind of simulation, and say, what are the different scenarios? You talked of the pipeline and the revenue forecasting, for example. Arguably with traditional analytics and insights or even machine learning, this was possible, but it is infinitely more possible these days.
You touched upon a part of 60s that kind of touches my nerve center. And you're also talking about TCS, who basically knows this product better than everybody else. 1964 IBM S360, introduction of a modern computing architecture, built around CPU, memory, I/O, but most importantly, abstracting software from hardware through operating system.
Right.
Same architecture to date is what you use, including your smartphone. No change in the architecture. Designed for people who handwrite the code in a sequence. You're talking about an era when you have machines writing the software, when you have industrial grade, no more judgment calls. You can take action rather than just recite. You have fortune. You asked me one question before and I held the answer to it. India's compute fabric is sub 1% of the world. Sure, it's got many legacy systems. But think, when you and I were growing, how keen we were to have a landline at home, and how to make those trunk calls and communications so that we could talk to distant people, and everything changed one day because of mobile phones. This is our opportunity to change this fabric and get back where we become productive, get back to the new way of doing it, because we don't have too much of legacy. There are two ways of looking at it. 99% empty, so we can build up, or we can say, oh, 1% is full, I can't move into it. Most importantly, Shiva, if AI helps you to understand the structure below anything that is rational and structured, then you can change everything. Question is, are you ready? And that's why I keep saying, get the destiny in your control. And your control will come through your AI factory. And this is where you will put into implementation all the scaling laws, and you'll decide how to bring the competitive arena in front of you, and how will you build this whole thing.
Sure. So let me ask you from my side a last question, and then maybe you can do me the favor. Um, Certainly a lot of progress in hardware, and we see Jensen at the GTCs and conferences. And every conference, there is an appending of the performance from a previous generation. The generation previous is hardly 12 months ago. So there's no doubt that that power is increasing and continues to increase. The software and the scalability of the software and the libraries around it, which is what our customers need to take to reap maximum benefit from the throughput that the hardware is generating. Your thoughts, your experiences on that.
So all of us who have grown into the IT industry is pretty much aware of the scaling law. It's an empirical observation, Moore's law, because the more Moore's law stayed to its original wisdom, you reduce the price of the software by half. You're trying to reduce the cost of intelligence to the marginal cost. You need to bring the cost down so that it becomes marginal. How do you do that? How do you do that is because AI is now helping us to bring this new architectures at speed of light. Second part, how do I make it easy for you? How do I make it easy for you to package and to use? Everything that NVIDIA does is from open source. We keep bringing in different elements of the software so that it becomes easy for you to package it and build and accelerate that. All we do is to give it fatherhood so that we take the responsibility to maintain as long as we live. Therefore, you don't have to go into looking after the health, how do I build it, how do I stack it, and how do I do it. I'll do the basic work for you. You'll use it on top of it. But what you need to remember that you have moved from the age of general purpose compute to a specialized computing. In the specialized computing, the software layers can be optimized for that architecture. Therefore, you would have also seen every 6 months, we come up with a new number. Without changing the baseline hardware, suddenly you see 30–40% improvement because you fine-tuned the software layer with the hardware architecture part. And that's why it becomes almost like science. Of course, it's a craft, but almost like science. And we encourage you that when you build your AI factories, follow this architecture, follow the reference, because we know that it will, for your investment, deliver what it has promised. How's your journey with NVIDIA from a customer's lens?
It's been very exciting to say the least. We've probably seen 3 broad stages of evolution. One is working alongside you when we go to customers. I think a lot of them are amazed to learn that beyond the GPU, there is so much of a software library inventory out there. So if I can say, the first phase is sometimes about education, that we have this partnership, we have come together, and there's a lot more possible than merely having your cloud or your on-prem data center be GPU oriented. I think that's the first thing. The second is, okay, so you have this inventory, you have these libraries. Is it general purpose or do you have vertical flavors? Well, there's something for retail. There's something called BioNemo. So the next part is then having a conversation based on the industry and the context of the customer, that there is a verticalization possible here, and it's for us to jointly exploit. The third thing is, we in TCS, of course, we provide services, but what we are seeing in this era, particularly so the last few years, and it's very much true of our partnership, is the era of solutioning. The services is incidental, very important, has to be done, but ahead of that is, what is the business problem? Why couldn't it be solved conventionally? Or how can it be solved through a more efficient, newer style architecture with libraries to boot, which give you maximum value for the money spent? I think these are the 3 things we are seeing in working together.
So well articulated. I know I'm not going to take too much time, but I must make this statement. The purpose of NVIDIA is to solve hard computing problem. Here's my promise to you on behalf of all my colleagues. if you have really a hard computing problem that, if solved, can change your destiny, get TCS and NVIDIA into that room. We'll work with you. We'll solve it for you at a scale and bring that delight onto your face, because that's what we live for. That's what we do. And we want to do it for most important people all the time, every time. So with that promise, TCS and NVIDIA, thank you for your time. It's been delightful to talk. Happy to be with you anytime, whenever you give us a call.
Thank you very much. And thank you.